Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Freaks Network. That's right, another change in our branding again. But hey, look, this should be the last one we ever do. So here's the rundown of what we have changed. Yeah, here's what we changed. We're having our podcast channel and our YouTube channel be named the Freaks Network. What this entails is that we have around 4 separate kind of like podcasts we want to do, but we didn't want 4 separate podcasts for all of them. So what we decided to do is we just made the Freaks Network, and we'd make episodes based on either films, music, tech, or gaming, and we'll name them accordingly. So this episode, it's going to be a Film Freaks podcast episode, and we'll have that at the end of the title, basically, and it'll have the episode number by it. So if you want to search it up, you still can. But we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of things we want to talk about. So the best way we thought we could do it is have a fresh new look again and a new name to just really hit it home that, hey, listen, we want to do a lot of things, but we don't want to confine it to like just tech, just movies, just music, that kind of thing. So that's why we are rebranding to the Freaks Network, and this is a Film Freaks podcast episode. So Ethan, you want to add anything to that for our audience?
This may or may not be the third time we have rebranded, but the reason we are rebranding is, like Brian said, we don't want to be confined to restrictions and have 4 different podcasts for everything, because me and Brian both do have our separate YouTube channels, separate stream, Twitches and stuff like that. So people. We both have jobs, and that takes a lot of our time. So the fact of having to keep up with not only stuff for our work life and everything, but also for our separate YouTubes and Twitches and all that and piling 4 different podcasts on top of that, it's a lot, especially for kids our age. I mean, yes. Brian's 18, but he's still a kid. I'm almost 18, and I'm still a kid.
We just have really busy lives with jobs and all that stuff. So,
especially getting out there into the adult world. Like, I'm about to buy a vehicle, my very first vehicle. So I'm working more and more, and it's getting ridiculous. So, but we still wanted. I know, and we still wanted to make sure that we get our podcasts and stuff out because we know you guys would enjoy it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
And it's been a few months. Listen, we would like to be consistent. We would like to. We would love to, actually. But life
is life.
Life is life, and procrastination. But I want to add a new subject that we should talk about each episode that we make, personal updates. So I'll go ahead and start. Last time you saw me, I wasn't married yet. At least I don't think I was. I was still living. I was still living. What?
It was May 5th. I don't think you were.
Okay, yeah, definitely not. So I was still living at my parents' house, and I was still working at Chick-fil-A. So since then, since I just said it, I got married in June, which was awesome. I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world, and I love her to death.
Don't get.
And look, I can't. I got a real one. I don't know how.
He can't help himself.
I don't know how I pulled her, if we're being honest with each other, but she loves me, and that makes me feel like the greatest man alive. So, that happened. Also, I got a new job. I was working at Chick-fil-A for almost 3 years, but I finally got a new job, a change of pace for me.
Let's keep the tears out of this, all right, bro?
The tears out of it? No, I'm gonna make everyone cry. Okay? No,
it's not.
But yeah, I got a sales rep job, so that'll be fun. It's commission based, so hopefully more money for me and my wife and our family and all that good stuff. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I also have a YouTube channel that I post more frequently than on here. It's called Brian Miller Tech. It's close to 250 subscribers. So hey, if anyone's listening wants to subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I just made a video about the new MacBook Pro I just got, which I'm in love with at this point. Where we're using to record everything today, and on Discord, and my camera, and obviously. So, hit that channel up if you want to learn about more tech on my perspective on stuff. So yeah, Ethan, what's up with you these days?
Well, like I said before, I'm in the process of buying my very first vehicle. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
real nice. I'm trying to get a GMC Sierra. Nice truck.
Nice.
I don't know. I like big vehicles. I do have a job. I'm working at Brian's old. I'm working at Brian's old job currently,
He came and kicked me out.
but but I am working on getting my real estate license so we can get crap in there and get to the whole real estate situation.
Cool.
I am not married, uh, but but I am focusing more on trying to get my crap together because
Good.
I can barely handle myself, much less two
Two
people.
people.
But you know, it's fine.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I can
fine.
barely handle
Um,
you, so.
I know I can barely handle myself.
No.
Um, I do have a channel, by the way. You guys do know this, Eagle Six Zulu. Go check it out. We just again a lot of tech when it comes to GPUs and PC stuff. And if you're a fan of Macs and iPhones and stuff like that, go to Brian's channel. If you're a fan of like if you're a fan of like the big power hungry PCs and
Listen,
a lot of
I
videos,
did an
a lot
unboxing. I did an unboxing of an RTX 3080 and told people how to install it. So I have both. Also,
Okay.
listen, I
If
also
you want
have
that-
my most viewed videos are Android videos. Ethan, don't be false advertising.
Oh, shut it. So if you want to go to Brian, actually, you know what? I have a better idea. Go to all of our channels. Go subscribe to them both, and we'll do whatever. But
Yes, go to all of them, and
Yes.
we'll show you love. I promise.
yeah, unless you're mean, then get out of here. We don't want you.
All right. Anyway,
Or unless you're a Matt guy, don't come to my channel. I'm
well,
kidding.
another
Yeah.
personal update I forgot to mention since you said you're in the process of getting a car. Well, before our wedding, my wife was in an accident, so her car was totaled. So we just purchased a new car for ourselves too, a 2014 Nissan Rogue. We're loving it. In fact, I made a
And it already
video.
got hit a second now.
Yeah, it just got sideswiped again. None of the accidents we were in were our fault, which sucks because we've been in 3 so far. One of them,
It's the
someone
funny
hit
thing.
our Jeep, my Jeep.
Yeah.
So there's a big dent on the side. One just totally ran right in front of my wife's car, and now someone tried to turn into my lane while I was driving the Rogue. So it's not major damage at all. It's just slight scrapes, but still, it's annoying because we just got the car and it looked really nice and shiny and new. It is what it is,
And
though.
that's the funny thing. I drive a massive 2012 Chevy Silverado, and it's the Z71, so it's lifted and it's wide and it's got a massive black brush guard on the front. And like this thing is this thing is huge. It's wide as crap. Pulling in and out of Sonic, parking dead in front of the Walmart parking lot. I haven't got hit once. No one. I don't know.
I don't know.
The irony.
People in
of
our city
Brian
just
driving
do not
this
know how to
tiny
drive.
Nissan.
I'm convinced.
I know, and you're driving this tiny little Nissan, and me with this massive truck, and I haven't gotten touched once. Like, I don't know. I
They're
find
probably
that
scared of
ridiculous.
you. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know. But
Massive, loud truck. They come in.
luckily, at least this time on our new car, of course, you have to have full insurance on it if you're paying, financing it. So we do. So that problem should be fixed, and we don't have to, worry about it too much. But still, annoying. But it's okay because everyone was okay at the end of the day. So I'm not going to get too mad. But yeah, I think that's it for me in terms of personal life. I'm not that interesting, I'm sure, but
Yeah, none of us are that interesting. We just talk a lot. That's all we do.
we love talking.
All right.
Talking is our favorite activity. All right, Ethan, what are we talking about today? Come on, let me know.
So, I had this idea as I was driving home from church one day with my dad. So me and my dad were driving home, and we got on the topic of the MCU. Now, first off, we want to start with the rise of the MCU. But the topic of today is MCU versus DCEU. Now, before we get into anything crazy, I just want to talk about the rise and the start of what made the MCU so great. So, Brian, give me your thoughts on Phase 1, I guess. Give me your thoughts of the very first MCU movie of Iron Man and the first phase of like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Give me your thoughts on those movies.
You know, whenever those movies were coming out, I was still like a young child, kind of, you know, back in 2008, 2010, and whatnot. So back then, being, you know, so young, seeing those movies for the first time was like amazing, especially Iron Man 1. We don't count the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, because I don't even think Marvel recognizes that movie as a part of the MCU. It is, but Mark Ruffalo's Hulk now, so, you know.
And see, what's funny is that movie, it's actually a pretty good movie. Like, the CGI isn't very good, but the plot, like,
I don't know. That movie's pretty meh, in my opinion, but whatever, it's fine. Iron Man 1, though. Iron Man 1 is this true start to the MCU, because it's awesome. It's a way better movie, you know? It establishes the character of Tony Stark amazingly well, you know, it tells his backstory. And, I mean, to be fair, the final villain sucked. You know, BFG. Big monster, you know, Jeff Bridges. Whatever, but
gosh.
while the end villain wasn't great, you know, having, was it Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury at the end of that movie, I'm pretty sure, their post-credit scene, that was, like, crazy. You know, obviously during they were like, who is this guy, you know? But when you look back on it, retrospectively, just, you know, when you watch Avengers 1, you see them all together, and you're like, wow, they're interlocking this. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, all these movies are linked together. Ah.
Yeah.
But, no, Captain America 1, I really like that movie, actually. Some people really don't.
Not a lot of people do. I know. And I find that so weird. I don't know. I love the first Captain America movie.
I liked it a lot. I mean, it has its problems, I know, but in terms of overall enjoyment, it's a great.
I enjoyed that movie.
I do think at the second half of the movie is pretty ridiculous, because at first it was a great character story, you know, a character like insight of Steve Rogers, you know, where how he was like a scrawny little dude, but he had like the heart of a lion, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, as soon as he gets buff, he becomes a puppet, kind of like America. He doesn't do any fighting or anything. They literally just made him a super soldier to do cheerleading work, which it is what it is.
And see, the main part that, especially the start of the MCU, when it comes to Iron Man 1 and the way they started it, they made like their own specific universe. And that's what I think I love a lot about the MCU is it doesn't matter if you're a comic book nerd. It doesn't matter if you've read every single Marvel comic book or none. You will always be able to understand the MCU because of the way they made the character and the way they started it. The start to something, especially the start to the MCU, was so important. Is when they announced Iron Man, the people who knew comic books thought it was gonna flop.
Of course.
Like, they were like, no one's going to understand this.
Iron Man in the comics is kind of boring, you know, to people, because he's not a super intriguing character. I mean, if you understand him, he is. But most people, when they read Iron Man, they're like, oh, he's lame, you know. But, like, the movie really just made him... When people think Iron Man, they just think of, you know, the MCU Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., man. Like, perfect casting... If perfect casting I've ever seen, you know, he was perfect in the role, and the writing for him was good, which is, you know, important for a movie to start off a whole entire universe. You have to have good characters, good story, good everything. So it was exactly what they did, and they didn't miss a beat, except for Thor and Hulk. But, you know, those are forgivable in my opinion. You know, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the way, and I felt like, especially in the Avengers, and we'll get into Endgame and stuff here in a minute, but when it comes to the very first Avengers movie, when I first saw the Avengers movie, I had been reading comic books. I was a massive comic nerd. My dad was as well. So we'd always go back and read comics and everything. Mm-hmm. So I understand what was going on. I had read the Avengers comics and everything, and even I was blown away by the way they did that. Like, you know, you can think about the way that they made us love these characters without having to read comic books. Like intertwining all the characters together, it made us feel nostalgia even when we've never read the comics before.
The movie. Like seeing them all together, like all the Avengers together and that one shot where they're just swirling around. Dude, that was such a cool moment. Even if you didn't even know what Marvel was beforehand, I mean, thanks to Tobey Maguire's and the Raimi series, Spider-Man, people know who Marvel is, but some people didn't. You just felt like wow, I've been wanting to see this, even though I don't know who this is, what this is.
Right.
It was a major success because it was, a community loved event, if that makes any sense. It is an event. Multiple movies leading up to a huge event moment. It was awesome.
Right.
But I heard you were talking about earlier, comic book fans of Iron Man thought it was going to flop. Think about this, though. With the Guardians of the Galaxy, the characters they're using in Guardians of the Galaxy are not the same in the comic books. In fact, that's not even the actual lineup of the Guardians of the Galaxy per se. It's completely random, it feels like, in the movie sense. But with James Gunn, those are his movies. He made the Guardians of the Galaxy, basically. And now in every media you see, Guardians of the Galaxy game from Square Enix, every mention of them in the Lego Marvel games, it's always those characters now when you reference the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're the Guardians of the Galaxy now, no one else.
And the fact that they can take a lot of times the MCU has tried to make their own way with different superheroes, and the fact that a lot of people try to do that, but the fact that everybody else fails but Marvel somehow succeeded at creating a better version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And seeing this from a person who reads comic books, like I've got comic books lined up behind me.
Nerd. No.
Coming from someone who knows coming from someone who knows a fair bit about not only DC Comics and Marvel, but the fact that I read the original Guardians of the Galaxy, I know what they're like, and in my opinion, they created a better storyline, a better set of characters. Like a guy who was from Earth, got somehow abducted after his mom died and turned out to be a scavenger. Then you have a Rocket and you got somehow a robotic humanized raccoon who turns out to be who works alone, and then he comes up with all these people who normally work alone who come together and take on a bigger threat. I think that's what people love so much about Infinity War, is it brought so many characters together who were used to working alone. Like when you look at Robert Downey Jr., you think of Iron Man, you don't really think of the Avengers first. You think of Iron Man as Iron Man. Same with Captain America. You think of Captain America as Captain America, not the leader of the Avengers. So bringing all these characters together with this crazy character arc or story arc of starting all these base movies out, just building up the characters so we love every character singular. Like even when they released that Black Widow movie, people loved Black Widow, but the fact that she got her own movie, I mean, that gave us a chance. That gave us a chance to fall in love with a character, not just from Avengers, but it gave us a chance to know that all these characters have a certain storyline.
Yes, but let me say something real quick about Black Widow. That movie, it was too late. Like it was a prequel movie after she died and like what? Endgame. And also,
if that came out,
listen to this though. While in the movie, Natasha Romanoff would be talking about her adventures with this other guy. All these missions they would do against that Russian guy. That movie was so boring to me. I forgot all their names. That movie sounded cooler than the movie that we're actually watching. The movie, what she was explaining to people, like we were hiding out in like this place for hours, for days, just to get an opportunity to get this guy. And they're just doing random stupid stuff in that movie. I'm like, come on, that sounds way cooler than what I'm seeing on screen. I don't like the Black Widow movie. It sucks.
Trying to break out a Russian Captain America,
whatever. It is what it is.
It was one that had so much potential.
It had a lot of potential. Black Widow is a cool character. She has you have a lot of just stuff to pull from in terms of comics and stuff because, she's been through a lot. Like, her history, her backstory, it's crazy, I mean, I get it's a little dark, but still, like, show it, don't be afraid.
Like, for people who saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness was gruesome, homie, I mean...
a DC movie. Like, I took a DC movie. I was like, what? Who made this? I enjoyed it, though. I loved Sam Raimi directed Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I did not know that. No, I didn't.
Sam Raimi.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah. All right, one thing I wanted to talk about real quick is just, I think in the Infinity Saga, which, right now we're in the Multiverse Saga, which we'll get to that in a minute. The Infinity Saga was built up incredibly well. Like fine wine, if you will. Like, I don't know, look, the planning that they did, it just all worked together so well. Sure, there's a couple of bad apples, but when 99% of the bunch, 95% of the bunch is good old Granny Smiths, that's okay with me. So, just the planning that they did, which in comparison to DC during that time, they smacked Warner Brothers in the face multiple times because they had way better planning. They knew what they were doing, and the content they were releasing was actually decent. I mean, decent at worst, but amazing at best. So the incredible build up to Infinity War was like nothing we've ever seen before in cinema, I feel like, because at that point you were watching Avengers movies for 10 years, 10 years, Marvel movies, for 10 years. It's just like you sent hours of your life into this, and the payoff was worth it. Right. So
I feel like the payoff was way worth it. Like, and see, that's, you always see these videos on TikTok or these YouTube shorts or whatever. We were scrolling through, and these people are like, me as a Marvel parent, and they want to talk, like, they want to talk to their, watch these movies with their kids. And he's like, but you have to wait 1 year in between Infinity War and Endgame. And you're like, wait, what? Why?
Because I had to.
Let DC or someone else try to do that. Let them leave you on a massive cliffhanger for over a year. Let someone else, apart from Marvel, do that and see how that movie does. Let something like Avatar or Titanic.
Well, Avatar kind of already has, except multiple years.
Right.
They're finally releasing the second one.
Right, these massive, movies who leave you on a cliffhanger, they won't be able to pull it off anywhere near as good as they did on Endgame.
I think Avatar will, but everything else, though, I don't know.
That's just because Avatar was a stupid, iconic movie. Like, that movie was incredible. But can't wait for the second one, by the way.
Yeah, but let's talk about just the final two movies. Infinity War is easily the best Marvel movie to date. I don't think anyone's arguing that. In fact, my wife, for some reason, doesn't like Endgame, but she likes Infinity War more. Like, a lot more. In fact, she just doesn't like Endgame, which is weird to me because it's amazing. It has some problems. I get that, but, like, it's a beautiful ending, Like, it's perfect. Whatever. But first, Infinity War. Wowza, what a movie, Like, this is the first time you ever see your heroes lose and fail badly. Everything they tried, it was worthless against Thanos because they literally made Scarlet Witch kill her husband practically, and then he revived him and killed him again. Like, that is messed up. And Thor making the critical mistake of not aiming for the head. Should have gone for the head. Snap.
I don't know. Seeing
all of them just dust away. Of course, everyone cried with Tom Holland. But
the reason I loved Infinity War so much is, for those of you who don't know, I am someone who, when it comes to story arcs and everything, I personally like DC over Marvel. The main reason, because, not film-wise, I'm talking about comics-wise, the main reason is because I love the dark aspects of people like the Dark Knight, Superman, like the Batman who laughs. Woo! So to see them actually release a movie that wasn't all a happy ending, I enjoyed watching them. No, I'm gonna
Yes.
say I enjoyed watching them fail, but I enjoyed watching them hit a wall.
Exactly.
Like I enjoyed them having to come up with another solution to fix what they've already done. And the way they were able to fix what they made, not only fix it, but to create such a cinematic masterpiece, if you will, when it comes to how they not only fix something like how they made the Avengers or the heroes fix what they've already done, but they created something even better. Like looking over and seeing Captain America lift Mjolnir, or seeing Iron Man snap, or
Oh my
anything like.
gosh, I can't even like the amount of like pure joy that came out of me in that moment. Like, oh!
We were in
We
the
were in the theater
theaters.
together when
This
that movie
man
came out.
lost it. This man lost it.
Losing my mess, man. Like, oh my gosh. And
You think people, bro?
I can't.
Our theater was everybody went buck wild when that happened. Especially this man. This man lost it.
We're like,
It
woo!
was.
I can't believe this is happening.
I know. I jumped up and said, "Oh my god!" Like, and I've seen a lot of movies. Like, I even went and watched the original Justice League back in 2017 in the movies with my dad. I know I've never seen any movie that I had jumped that much apart from that. Only movie I can think I got any more excited was, excuse me, was Sonic. It was Sonic 2. That's
2.
it. That's the only other movie that I got anywhere close to being that excited.
The two movies that have got me that close was No Way Home and Sonic 2.
That's true. That's true. We saw No Way Home.
We'll get to No Way Home because No Way Home is the defier of the newest saga. So it's actually amazing. But we'll get to that in a second. But the moment... Look. The moment...
I'm getting flashbacks. Just thinking
I know. The best... Man, I'm happy again. No. The moment when they all failed again. But... He says, look to your left. And
on your left. Everybody,
oh my gosh,
everybody combined, dude.
I'm getting chills thinking about it, man.
The part that sent us over the edge as comic nerds was the famous phrase, Avengers Assemble.
Assemble.
And see, we've never heard that in an MCU movie.
And
ever. And it's
that's one thing though. For like years, I would think, why hasn't he said that yet? Like I hear it in the animated shows all the time. Like he said, "Avengers Assemble!" But like you never, not even in the first Avengers movie, did he say it. They were saving it for that moment, and oh my gosh, was it worth it?
It was worth it. And see, this shows the cinema, like this shows the I guess the artistic factor of that director is the way as they were coming in, the music was like the Avengers music was going crazy, and then immediately after he said Avengers, the music cut out slowly, and then he said it, and then the music came back. The cinematic masterpiece of that movie was so incredible, and it was, I don't know, man.
And it was just an incredible arc and ending for a lot of characters.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That was the epic cinematic ending. Sorry, the epic climactic ending of the Avengers. And
now I know for money reasons, I wish they would have ended there
over.
And kept the 2 Spider-Man movies afterwards because those are good. Ended there in 2 Spider-Man movies and be done with it. But of course, for money reasons, it works in millions and billions of dollars. So of course they're gonna make more and plan more and stuff because there's still more to explore. But I don't think anything is going to be as interesting, as cool, as amazing as the Infinity Saga. No matter how hard Marvel can try, I don't think they're going to hit it again. I don't know, but we'll have to see, of course. But still, I don't know.
Right. Just by looking at when they announced Phase 5 and Phase 6, that's what we want to move on to now. I want to move on to the fall of the MCU, so-called. What, you got more?
Yeah. I just want to. Okay. I want to talk about Iron Man and his death. You know, a character that you've grown up with practically for for me at least, half my life. You know, it's almost like you knew him, you know? Seeing him, like, actually sacrifice himself to save the entire world is exactly what he needed in terms of a character arc, in terms of just Tony Stark himself. Because when we first saw him, he was a cocky, arrogant, rich guy who, you know, had a lot of money, playboy, all that kind of stuff. But in the end, he finally, you know, think about this, though. In Age of Ultron, how terrible he must have felt. Because he basically created Ultron and who murdered a lot of people. He finally got his justice back.
Right.
And saved half of the entire human race population.
Yeah, and half the universe, actually.
Half the universe, that's right.
And see, what's funny is there was so many times where Iron Man was, you know, where Iron Man was the first. Like, he was the first. Well, they call Captain America the first Avenger, but really Iron Man was the first one to say yes in the MCU and in comic books. Like, he was the first one. And he was the first movie. And what's funny is if you go back and watch towards the end of Endgame, there's like a little montage, and he's the last. His is the last. Like, you know, the montage of the signatures. Mm-hmm. Robert Downey Jr.'s is the last signature.
Yeah.
So it's funny to think that he was the first and the last. Yeah. Like, he was the first. He was the first Avengers movie. He was the first Avenger.
And when the Marvel logo showed up at the end credits, you can hear the hammer when he was working on his armor in the first movie. So I don't know. They just played an amazing tribute to him. It's like it's like he actually died or something, but he didn't. But
yeah.
But when I first saw this at Comic-Con, the Phase 5 and Phase 6, I almost had sensory overload. It's too much. I think it's too much.
Not just too much, but there are two specific movies we want to talk about for Phase 6. Of course, we got Phase 5 as well, which we will get to. We'll start with Phase 5 first, and then we'll move on to Phase 6. But for those of you guys who don't know, the MCU has different phases. They've got Phase 1, and now they've all got Phase 6. So phases is how Marvel spaces out their story arcs for all their movies. So, for example, Phase 4 was, you know, Endgame and, you know, the last
one of the best phases.
Right, one of the last few of the Marvel TV shows, which, again, we'll get into also. And then they've also got, you know, Black Widow, you know, that. Now, of course, they also released, at Comic-Con, they released Phase 5 and Phase 6 of the movies and TV shows that they're releasing. Of course, you know, you got stuff like the new Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy, Loki Season 2, but we also got some new things coming out, and we got it on screen here so we can read it out to you guys. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Loki Season 2, Blade, Agatha, Coven of Cosmos, Captain America, New World Order, Secret Invasion, Echo, Marvels, Ironheart, Daredevil, Born Again, and Thunderbolt. Now, a lot of those shows and movies, y'all, I'm excited for. Like Loki Season 2, Daredevil, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, bro.
Let's just
Matt Murdock is coming back as Daredevil?
Yes.
Or not Matt Murdock. What's his name's coming
Charlie
back
Cox.
as Daredevil?
Yes.
That's it. Like, bro.
Listen.
Bruh.
There have been a couple of great things after Endgame, especially the Loki series and especially the Spider-Man movies. Far From Home and No Way Home were probably one of the best Spider-Man movies, you know, out of recent memory at least. Especially No Way Home. Like, oh my gosh, No Way Home.
I feel like
I feel like that's like another one. It's almost exactly like Endgame. It's like an event. Many years build up of Spider-Man movies from Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, and seeing them all together, all their villains, the original actors, all come together just for this event.
I still think they should give Andrew his third movie, but
they absolutely should, because Andrew was amazing in that movie. Like, I don't know, like, he was great.
He grew up, And they gave Hayden Christensen a second chance with that Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Give my boy Andrew another movie.
Make a third movie, but make it good too. Don't.
Right?
He was snubbed, I feel like, because Andrew Garfield loves Spider-Man as a character. Like, he talks about him all the time, it feels like. And Andrew Garfield is one of the best actors of recent time because he's been in so many amazing acting roles, whether it be Tick, Tick, Boom, Spider-Man No Way Home, all that stuff. He's incredible. So he would be perfect. So right now, Sony is making their own, like, Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. So Venom, Morbius, they're doing Kraven the Hunter. Listen, what Sony needs is a Spider-Man. Bring back Andrew Garfield to be Spider-Man for at least a movie, and then bring Miles Morales in to be the Spider-Man of that universe. You feel me? Because there hasn't been a live-action Miles Morales, and I think it's about time.
Before we get too crazy into the Miles Morales, because I have a lot I've got to say about Miles, in a good way, in a really, really good way. I love No Way Home, especially the aspect of, like you said, bringing all the OG characters back, especially having them all together. That was something that the media has gone for ever since they released The Amazing Spider-Man. Was what if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield got together?
Right.
And then Tom Holland came into the mix, and they were like, what if all three of these characters got together and beat all the guys? Straight up Voltron, the movie, they all came in together and was like, let's do this together. It was a funny nod.
And their interactions together, it was like I could cry because Spider-Man is my number one favorite superhero of all time. Batman is a close second.
Spider-Man's like my number 3.
Superman is probably third because we'll get into the DC part because I'll explain everything why I hate the DCEU at first because they whatever. We'll get to it. We'll get to it in a second. But Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters of all time, and he just gets the best media representation, it feels like, because people understand him, people love him, and No Way Home was just a perfect example of that, and is one of the highlights of the rest of Phase 4. So I'm extremely happy with how Phase 4 ended, and it also ended with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Now, let me tell you, this one was a weird one. While I was in the theater, I didn't know what to expect because the last Doctor Strange movie was pretty weird too, but it was really cool. This one, from start to finish, was
great.
It was great. Although, I just wish, I don't know, personally, I like the Scarlet Witch. And I thought it was, you have to watch WandaVision in order to get the context and why she might be turning, but I felt like it was too fast. We had a whole series, and at the end of that series, I thought she was fine. I thought she was Gucci. I thought she was looking for Vision, but apparently not. She was looking for that book that gives her all the power to go to the multiverse practically and find another version of her with her children. Because she's a greedy little monster. But man, she, as a villain, the Scarlet Witch is scary, homie. Like, she is scary.
They grabbed her straight out of DC. It was like, nah, bruh.
Like, what she did to the Illuminati, that kind of freaked me out. Like Black Bolt, I enjoyed what mouth? And he is mouthless. The thought of not having a mouth scares me. So, being mouthless.
The fact she had to go the extra mile and have his head just...
And then, literally, a PG-13 movie, he speaks and his whole head turns into mush. That's horror movie stuff. But I like it.
I enjoyed that entire scene.
And then it was
so good.
And they ripped Reed Richardson into string, and his head pops. And, she just...
I know,
and she killed Captain Peggy Carter, and you can see the shield has blood and guts all over it.
I know.
They went all out, man. And then, of course, freaking Captain Marvel. I forgot who the girl's name actually is because she was a black girl, but Captain Marvel
America?
gets the lamest death. A pile of
America?
rocks. No, Captain Marvel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She gets the lamest
Like,
death, unfortunately. You know, they probably could have done something really cool with that, but they decided to put a pile of rocks in there, which probably wouldn't even kill her, for being honest, but whatever. Sure, it killed her.
we'll go with the fact that
But the fact that she's like just chasing them, like,
like a zombie. It honestly, I thought that she was like slowly turning into Darth Vader at some point. The way how she would just walk slowly at them, and like you can run, but
you can't
you
hide.
can't run forever. You can't run forever.
I know. Although one thing though, when they meet with the one Doctor Strange that has like kind of lost all hope, and he also has the book. I need to learn the name of that book. Do you know the name? Because it's the Book of Evil. I'll call it the Book of Evil. But he had the book, and he grows that third eye. The third eye looked terrible, by the way. They did not do that good. But it was the cool fight scene with like they were fighting with music. That was awesome. Like notes, just like do 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 do. I don't know. It was awesome.
Yeah,
That's Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is for cool visual stuff, and I enjoy it so much. And
unless it was the third eye, then it wasn't that good.
the third eye was trash. I don't know why.
And another thing I love though is I love seeing Doctor Strange's story after the whole situation with Doctor Strange 1, because this is the second Doctor Strange. So we've only had one other Doctor Strange, and this is when he got his powers. So this was like phase 3 we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 or 3 when we finally met Doctor Strange. And that's another thing is the way they did Doctor Strange, man. Think of before, like take any normal person, no comic book nerd, but take any normal person. Do you think they've ever in their life heard of Doctor Strange until the MCU?
No. He was a nobody. He was kind of like, he's a character.
They heard of Captain Marvel? Or Guardians of the Galaxy? You think they heard of any of Ant-Man, the Wasp? Think they heard of any of that until the MCU?
Yes. Like Marvel has gone to huge popularity just because of the movies.
I know. And anytime anyone thinks of Marvel, the last thing they think of is comics. They think of movies. Like in movies, well, last might be games because, well, you know why. But unless you talk about Spider-Man, then if games were your first thought, then I'll be okay with that. But as Brian said, that was the end of Phase 4. Now let's get into the fall, the collapse, the sadness of the MCU.
One thing,
now, of course,
I think one of the reasons why it's personally for us, of course, some people are still excited, but I'm getting fatigued of superhero, especially Marvel movies. Like I'm kind of just like I'm not invested. I haven't watched Hawkeye at all. I haven't watched the Moon Knight series yet. I heard they're good, but some people just say they're good, but then they have the same Marvel like stuff in it. So I'm like, well, then I don't want to watch it. You know, I'm just the She-Hulk series. I don't know.
Oh.
The trailers look terrible. If I'm being honest with you, I'm not even talking about the CG. I'm just talking about everything else.
The trailer is the best part of the TV show. Let's just leave it at that. Like the trailer is the best episode because it's the shortest.
All right then.
It's not good, man.
Now I think the only two decent shows so far have been Loki. Loki was a different level. Loki was awesome. Loki was amazing. I love Loki. But WandaVision was pretty good. But I feel like at the end it was just anticlimactic. So it is what it is.
I loved Loki. I did, however, watch Hawkeye. I enjoyed Hawkeye. You know, they brought in what's his name as Fisk. You know, the guy who plays Fisk in Daredevil. They brought him back, and he plays Fisk. I love Fisk. I love his Kingpin story arc, especially as being one of Spider-Man's villains.
Have you what Into the Spider-Verse? Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
Oh my god, it's so good. And like I said, we'll get into Miles because I have a lot I gotta say about him.
Everyone does.
Of course, I loved Hawkeye. Hawkeye was really good. I really enjoyed Hawkeye. Main reason being is because not only did it give you, it wasn't the same Marvel stuff as it normally was. Hawkeye wasn't like, weird sacrifice your life for this and weird multiverse stuff that they're throwing out nowadays.
The multiverse stuff,
I
man.
enjoy,
I'm not digging it.
I enjoy Hawkeye. I know, and see, and see, when we're talking about Phase 5 here, of course, the first movie in Phase 5 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, um,
Yeah.
which is all about the quantum realm. Which the quantum realm, if you don't know from the comics, is how you would use the multiverse. Um,
Right.
and then, of course, you got Guardians of the Galaxy, Loki season 2, which is all about multiverses. Then you got Captain America, Agatha, Ironheart, stuff like that. Um, and the thing about the multiverse trilogy is I feel like they're trying so hard to make the MCU still good. Now, I don't want to say the MCU right now is bad. I don't want to say I'm not excited for some of these movies or
I
some of
am
these
for
TV shows.
sure.
I am, especially when it comes to bringing Daredevil back and Loki season
Blade,
2.
I'm very interested in Blade.
Blade. I know.
Guardians of the
I'm
Galaxy
very.
Volume 3 is going to be good, obviously.
I know. I'm excited about a lot of these things, but the main aspects of the MCU I feel like are gone, and that was the original. That was the original Avengers. That's why we're saying the climactic of the Avengers. And
You know,
I really I liked what you said when you said you wish the MCU would have ended at there. They would keep the two Spider-Man movies because they're good, but how the MCU just ended there, I agree. I feel like it should have.
I was talking to, my wife, like a month ago or something like that, and we were talking about, too, how much we just miss the old days. We miss just those movies because they're iconic. They're classic. We don't have much iconic characters left that we built up, which they're trying to do that now, of course, with a bunch of new characters and stuff, but it's hard to get into new characters when there's the old ones still in your mind, still fresh in your mind, and you don't want to put all that time and effort again into these characters if they're not good enough.
I know, and see, this is where I'm going to bring in Miles Morales. Is when they release these new characters, they don't do it the same way that they did at the start with Tony Stark, Captain America, people like that. That's what I love so much about Miles Morales. Is I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Peter Parker is a wonderful Spider-Man. He is, like Brian said, Spider-Man is probably my third favorite superhero of all time. Other two are DC characters. My favorite Marvel superhero of all time is Spider-Man. And that is what I love so much about Miles Morales is every time they release him when it comes to Into the Spider-Verse, a video game or a comic book or anything like that, they make Miles Morales lovable because he's different. Not different how he's a different skin color or different gender, not like that. They make him different than Peter Parker. They make him come out to where he lost his father, but he has his mother. He's grown up as a child, and moving house after your father died. You're being a little weird, and having to live up to the title as Spider-Man. That I love that. They made us love Miles Morales in a way that they won't. That the way that they don't make us love any other new characters. Like especially when they released She-Hulk. I cannot love She-Hulk as good as I love the real Hulk because she's exactly the same, just a female. I mean, I would love it if when they release these new characters, if they gave them something different. With Miles Morales' whole story is having to live up to the hype has to live up to the throne of being Spider-Man. He has to make sure that he's, can live up to the Spider-Man name, especially in the video games like that. That's what I love so much about Miles. I wish they would do that. If they were going to add new characters, do it like that. Make them different. Don't just make them the same character again. Just slight changes here and there.
Well, from my understanding, I feel like, from what I've seen online and on Twitter, that She-Hulk, she is a different character than the regular Hulk. Whether it be better or for worse, I'm not sure. I need to watch the series before I have a full-on opinion about it. But sometimes they're just too different for the wrong reasons.
That's a good point.
If they can just make, I don't want to sound, like that guy, but some of the decisions they make is just for inclusion and wokeness and all that stuff. But I'm not a major, I'm an independent person. It goes with the flow for me. But they make creative decisions based on either race or gender and stuff. Which, listen, I don't have a problem with a black superhero or anything, or a woman superhero. In fact, I want more original characters like that. I just don't want people taking place of characters that I like already with something different, with either race or gender or whatever. Now, this is probably the hottest take I've ever said in my life, so please be easy on me. Go ahead, if you have a creative, idea, and you want them to have a story, like say they're black, they have that minority story where they were raised up in a place where they were treated wrong because of their skin color or because they were a woman, something like that. And as they become more of a hero, they learn they have a better responsibility, and they have to even save the ones who treated them bad. Something like that would be awesome. But they just do like cheap stuff just to get woke points. So
yeah.
And now I don't think it's that bad with Marvel, but in some cases, like in some video games, some stuff like that, it gets pretty bad. So I don't want it to seep into Marvel, because that'd suck. But I just want to see, for me, I just want good original characters, good backstories and stuff like that. So
that's
if you're doing
that's right. That's a perfect transition into these two Avengers movies. Of course, we've got Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret War. Now, not Avengers: Kang Dynasty as much as it is Avengers: Secret Wars. Now, those of you comic book nerds out there, people like me, those of you who know what Avengers: Secret Wars is, it is Marvel's biggest collab or biggest event in history. It's bigger than Endgame. It's bigger than the Infinity War comics. It's basically MCU's. It's basically the Marvel's version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's the big one. For those of you who don't know, Avengers: Secret Wars in the comics anyway. It's the most powerful Avengers. Like, so all of the Avengers versus all of the most overpowered villains ever. So Thanos, Galactica or Galactus, whatever his name is. You got Adam Warlock in there, everybody like that, Doctor Doom, all of them together into that one thing. Now, see, here's where I feel like that this is really going to take a decline. Is Avengers: Secret Wars, the comic anyway, was the highest selling Marvel comic of all time, because it took every single superhero and added them together. It was the Avengers Endgame before Endgame was even a thing. That's why it did so well. Now, of course, when it starts getting closer to the release date, because this isn't until November 7th of 2025, so this is almost 2026.
Yeah,
it's a few years away. So when it starts getting closer, people are going to start doing more research on Secret Wars. People are going to learn more about it, and they're going to learn about what they should be getting. And this is where I feel like it's going to start to decline pretty rapidly. Is they're not going to bring out the original. They're not going to bring out Captain America. They're not going to bring out Iron Man. They're not going to bring out Thor and Black Widow and
they can't bring out Thanos either because he got murdered.
I know, and see, they can't bring out any of these awesome characters that are supposed to make Secret Wars good.
Hold on,
because of the things they already did.
This is called the Multiverse Saga.
I understand that
potentially they might pull characters that are dead in this universe, but they pull them from different other universes in the multiverse somehow, some way.
They won't be the same.
I mean, but they did that in No Way Home though. They had the goodbye pictures. Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do with the multiverse. It's almost like you could do anything. But
yeah, that's why I feel like that's what they were trying to do, is just restart it. But I don't know if I'd want that. I don't know if I want that either. Back Tony Stark and Iron Man. I don't know if I wanted them to bring back Tony Stark and everything, because they ended
people
off
are loving the weird craziness, that the Marvel side can give. The weird alien stuff, which Guardians of the Galaxy did that stuff. Guardians of the Galaxy did that stuff.
We'll also get into the way DC handles all this.
Of course, yeah. But Guardians of the Galaxy did that, and they did it good. But
they did it really well.
part of me likes that in terms of Marvel, they're more grounded. Not in reality, because obviously they're not. But like in terms of their characters, it's more like human.
Like how
why I love Spider-Man so much, because he has to deal with being, a teenager in high school, and also having the weight of being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. A lot of the stories are like that in Marvel, which is different from DC, which is like more gods, more super, more that big and galactic. So this is me personally. I'm probably wrong in this, I know, but
we say that as the main Justice League member is just a rich guy in a costume.
That's like exception, though. Like
I feel like I know what you're talking about. How DC has more galactic threats than Marvel does. Whereas even in Phase 4 is when Marvel first started getting into, the galactic size thing, like the galactic size threats when it comes to just touching space. Whereas, the first Justice League movie, they ended up in space. It's ridiculous.
Well, hold on. Let me walk back with what I'm saying, because I love Thor Ragnarok. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy because of where they are and where the places they go. So maybe it's not that I want them to be grounded like on Earth or anything. It's more like I don't want it to be too weird, too crazy,
Right.
So that I can't understand it,
I know. Like Doctor Strange, the first one, and Multiverse of Madness, like that was just kind of all over. It was a good movie, and I liked it from the beginning, but it was a lot of things I was like, wait a minute. Huh?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel you.
Weren't we just here, and now we're here, and then we should be there?
It's just weird,
Like half the time I was like this. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I like the look. I like what I'm looking at. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I was hoping they would have cleared it up at the ending, but really didn't. I mean, they just said this book is bad. Don't touch it. But
we'll destroy
anyway,
Scarlet Witch will destroy the whole place where you can activate it.
I know. And then, but the book is still there theoretically, so it's like
I don't know.
It was confusing. I liked the movie from a standpoint of a movie standpoint, but from logics, like what is happening?
Yeah, I don't know.
That shouldn't be there.
So I just what I want Marvel to do, and I feel like they're just falling a little bit because they don't have my interest right now. I just don't care, except for a couple of things. But like I don't care about everything like I used to. Like I would want to watch the Ant-Man movie. I would want to watch Captain Marvel. I would want to, but nowadays I'm like I don't want to.
Right.
It started with Falcon and Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier show. Like I didn't really watch that one at all because I just wasn't interested.
I didn't watch that one either. My dad did. My dad enjoyed it. I watched like 2 episodes of it, and then I kind of lost interest. But I love the days when they would announce Phase 4 or Phase 3, for example, when they would announce those movies, you would want to watch in theaters every single movie. You wanted to watch every movie, TV show over and over again. Now, when they release it, you're kind of like,
I'm looking at it now. There's like 4. Okay, let me look. Guardians of the Galaxy, Loki Season 2, Blade, Daredevil,
and that's it.
Maybe Captain America,
maybe Thunderbolts. I'm not sure what Thunderbolts are. Let me know if y'all know what Thunderbolts. I don't really know. I don't know what it is, but
we'll know.
Daredevil is just like a second season. Like this is just a second, or not second.
A series to the original show. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's a
sequel, not series.
Sequel, yeah. So that's basically Daredevil. So that's we won't really count that one. So we got Blade, which Blade has been a thing too. It was like a Netflix series, wasn't it?
No. It was movies way back then, like rated R Marvel movies. He's a vampire hunter, so it's like bloody and like. So it'll be cool.
Nice.
That's what I'm excited for.
Nice. Yeah. And then I am excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I loved Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I liked Ant-Man. I'm pretty excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm excited to see what they do with that because they're supposed to bring back the original Wasp in the comics anyway. It's not Hope. It's Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie.
Right.
She's the original Wasp in the comics. So to see if she comes out and starts being the Wasp and it's Ant-Man and the Wasp, the actual Wasp, then I'll get it a little bit closer to Ant-Man. I like the Ant-Man story, the way they did it in Ant-Man and the Wasp and stuff like that. I like their story. It's a crime fighting duo. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how they do that one. Loki season 2, I'm beyond excited for that. I loved
Absolutely.
watching Loki
Loki
the
season
first
1 was
season.
awesome.
It was so good. The only problem is you have to wait until the summer of 2023, which I guess is okay. But
It's too far.
Guardians of the Galaxy, like you said, I am excited for Guardians of the Galaxy, especially to see how Thor holds a part in it. Because isn't he a part of the Guardians now? If I remember correctly. I haven't seen Love and
I
Thunder
know.
yet, so I don't
I
know.
haven't
I
seen
just
it
remember it
either.
being
I want to, but I
uh,
just can't find the opportunity. So
it'll
I don't
come
know.
out.
I
It'll
know
come out
Guardians of
on
the
Disney
Galaxy is
Plus.
in that movie, so
Right.
we'll see.
It'll come out on Disney Plus on this Thursday. So this Thursday, Thor: Love and Thunder will be on Disney Plus. So let us know if you want to. Let us know if you want a
Episode on it.
Film Freaks podcast on that movie.
Yep.
We'll see what we can do. The Marvels isn't the Marvel, is that a new Avengers, or is that going to be like
That's fantastic.
Captain Marvel 2?
Wait, what are you talking about?
No, the
The
Marvels.
Marvels. That's going to be Captain
Yeah,
Marvel too. The first Captain Marvel was not the greatest.
No, it was.
So we'll see what they do. We'll see. I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll watch it, but I don't know what they're gonna do with it. So we'll see.
Now, something I'm also really excited about is if you guys don't know from the comics, Adam Warlock, he was supposed to be in here. He was supposed to be an Avenger way back when, like since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, he was supposed to be a part of the Avengers. I don't know why. I don't know where he's at. That's why they're finally throwing in a Nova series in 2025,
Yeah.
which I'm excited for that.
Oh, there's a movie we haven't mentioned yet at the very end of Phase 4. It's the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and one of the characters they're introducing in that one is Namor, which is exciting because he's like the aquatic man, if you will. He's
basically Aquaman.
Kinda, but he's like it's totally different. It's Atlantis, I'm pretty sure. So it'll be like a war between Wakanda and Atlantis, which will be. I think that'd be pretty cool. The trailer was great, so I'm excited for that movie.
Yeah. Now, we just talked about the fact that the slight fall of the MCU and where they're leading the path now. And I agree with what Brian said about how they should have ended it at whatchamacallit, at Endgame. But if they're not going to end it at Endgame, if they were going to create different characters, they should have created the characters differently, like not too different, and not just give them again, not for the whole woke situation. Brian, I agree with you 100%. So if you're going to backlash us, backlash both of us. Go ahead, cancel us. I don't care. But I agree with you that if they were going to create a new character, they should have created them different, but not different for the wrong reasons. Create them different the way that Miles was different. He wasn't different based on his skin color. He wasn't different based on whatever. He was different because he had such things to live up to. Like he had to live up to the mantle of Spider-Man. He had to become the Spider-Man. So being not only a kid of where Peter Parker grew up, he had to become the Spider-Man. He had to work on being a kid, but also becoming something better. Mm-hmm. And Miles has to live up to that. He has to be a kid the same age as Peter, if not younger, and live up to that. Like he has to take on the mantle as Spider-Man at such a young age. And to see Peter mentor him, being like, man, I did this for 8 years without backup in the games. Like, it was so good. And seeing the Into the Spider-Verse, which Across the Spider-Verse is not a part of these phases for some reason. I don't think it's part. I would guess it's a part of the MCU.
It's Sony. It's Sony. It's not MCU.
Oh God, I'm so excited for that movie. But I really enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse. But I feel like our best representation of Miles Morales as Spider-Man has been the Spider-Man games. And I find that strange. Like the fact that we haven't had a live action Miles Morales.
Right.
I mean, of course we've had we've had the video games, we've had the animated stuff, but that's something I'm really excited to see them do with Spider-Man, which is, I feel like, is, in my personal opinion, that is probably going to be Marvel's last, or the MCU's last saving grace, is going to be the Spider-Man movies. Because me and my dad were talking about this the other day, is there's only new stuff from here. Like when we first think of Peter Parker's Spider-Man, we think of, Sam Raimi, Amazing Spider-Man, stuff like that. It's never, all this Tom Holland stuff is past all of that. It's past Peter Parker growing up in high school, meeting Mary Jane and stuff like that. This is past that. So this is completely new territory. So that's why I'm excited to see how they're going to do with this.
I'm very excited
and to see how they're going to throw in, right, and to see how they're going to throw in Miles Morales into all of this. Now, the next Spider-Man movie will be released, it says here, on winter 2024. It's called The Spectacular Spider-Man Family Business. I'm excited to see how this goes. Hopefully, by when it means Spectacular Spider-Man, hopefully we'll get Miles in a future one. If so, it'll probably be called Ultimate Spider-Man, because that's just that's what they call him in the comics.
Yeah,
but I feel like that Spider-Man is their last saving grace.
Yeah, but also, one of the movies in Phase 6, The Fantastic Four, they've tried twice. Three times actually. There's not been a good one. A good Fantastic Four movie. Fantastic Four in the comics, they're pretty cool. Honestly, they're one of the comic books that saved Marvel back in the day in the 60s. They're really awesome. Yeah. So I want a good representation of Fantastic Four. I trust the MCU enough to do that. Hopefully. But I'm excited for that one for sure, because
did you play that? Did you ever play that old Fantastic Four game on the original Xbox or the GameCube? It was made by Activision, and they
Activision
took
made all the Marvel games back then.
I know. They took the old one. The one with Chris Evans as the Human Torch.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Mm-hmm.
They basically took that and turned it into a video game. Funnily enough, that was actually pretty cool. It was actually probably better than the Avengers game, because it was pretty good. I enjoyed that. It was kind of one of those beat 'em up. It was kind of one of them beat 'em up action adventure games. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Another movie we forgot to mention was the Shang-Chi movie. Honestly, that was great.
Shang-Chi
was pretty good. The change of pace from like regular big old CG battles to actual like kung fu,
they couldn't go one movie without throwing some Marvel crap in there.
I know, at the very end, big old dragon and like rings. And, I mean, it looked cool. That's fine,
Not just that. The bus scene though, where this man took Marvel to the next level, just started throwing a arm saber everywhere. Like,
that was cool though.
I mean, it was cool. Like, Shang-Chi was probably one of my favorite movies from Phase 4. I really like how they did it, but come on, you could have held yourself back at least a little bit. Just a little bit.
Marvel does what Marvel do.
Gotta start with dragons. But I feel like Marvel is getting into the sort of realm of starting to get to the realm of DC when it comes to the whole getting rid of the whole grounded thing that you were talking about earlier. How Marvel was supposed to be the series where people could relate to, like they could relate to Spider-Man because Spider-Man is Spider-Man. They could sort of relate to Tony Stark because he was a normal man who turned out to be the world saving grace. If you're finished with Marvel, we could move on to DC.
Let's move to DC. Now, where we want to start with DC is the Nolan films.
Right. Oh,
those.
Boy.
Now, we know that's not part of the DCEU, but we just want to talk about where they started the DCEU from. The Nolan films are probably one of the best superhero trilogies, at least, that I can think of, because the Batman Begins is an incredible Batman story, like beginning story. It's in the name. Literally, it's all about Batman beginning his journey of being Batman. Bruce Wayne,
right.
Beginning his journey of being Batman. Like, it just gives you the entire story, everything you need to know, and about his character, about who he is, why he doesn't kill people, why he doesn't use guns, all that good stuff, which
right.
We'll get into that in a second about Batman and guns. But yeah, the Nolan films, Batman Begins, and then you go on to The Dark Knight with Joker. Oh my gosh!
Rest in peace, Heath
Heath Ledger. I'm sorry. Like when I'm like recording something, I always forget the names of what I remember usually. Heath Ledger's Joker, one of the best on-screen Jokers we've ever seen.
Oh my goodness! Where do we even begin?
I don't know if we'll ever see one as good as that because you can't imitate him because that's honestly a little disrespectful, and then everyone will call you an imitator. You know.
Heath Ledger was born to play the Joker, and
Yes.
that's something I feel like was important. And a lot of it is the whole controversy over Heath Ledger's death. For those of you who don't know, he died of an accidental overdose.
And something I feel people like to say is the fact that Heath Ledger died as the Joker. And, his daughter and everything even came out and said, no, Heath Ledger loved playing the Joker. Like, that was his favorite thing ever. And I bet it was because he was so good at it. He was born to play the Joker. And that scene for those of you who've seen it, if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, stop this
podcast and go watch it because you need to.
It's on Netflix. Go watch it. But that scene where he first meets Rachel, and at that point, and when they were filming, where he grabbed her face and all of that was complete Heath. That wasn't no script. He went off script. That was just him. That was Heath Ledger playing as the Joker. And, even as her pulling away, because that was the first time she saw Heath Ledger with his makeup on, her pulling away, that was legit terror. Like, that's how she was trying to pull away. That wasn't in the script. That was just Heath Ledger being the Joker. And we'll never get anyone as good as that.
Right. I don't know. It's
I'm excited to see what Walking does, though, with the whole Joker thing, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that later.
And, the last movie with Bane. Look, some people have a problem with that movie for some reason, but I love The Dark Knight Rises. It's one.
The only thing I feel like they could have done better is gave Bane and Batman more time together. Right. Like, cause see, that's in the comic book. The comic is not called The Dark Knight Rises. The comic is called something. I think it's called Bane Broke the Bat or something like that. Which I don't remember how long ago I read that comic, but it was forever ago. And in the comics, Bane and Batman had just got done with a fight, and they would, they both were laying on the ground talking, and they figured out that they had more in common than you think. And I feel like we got more of that stuff with Bane. I mean, we got a lot of a conversation between Bane and Batman when he was in the prison, but that's something I feel like they could have done a little bit better. But other than that, The Dark Knight Rises was a really, really good movie. It does not deserve the amount of hate it gets.
I mean, it had the incredible task of following up The Dark Knight. So I mean, cut some slack, man.
To bring Talia in there, like, bro.
Yeah.
Talia, and the I could see that she was a bad guy from the beginning. I'm just good at that.
Me too. I mean, I'm like, she looks fishy.
Yeah. But the twist was still really good to find out that the only person trying to buy that is Talia al Ghul, and it's like that's pretty sick. I enjoy that.
And the conversation you have with Alfred, where Alfred wishes for Bruce to stop being Batman, and practically he does that. Yeah. He carries the bomb off in the bat, whatever it's called.
A Batwing.
Batwing. Okay. Batwing. Look.
That's what it's called in the comics, but in the movie, not Alfred. What's his name calls it the Bat. But in the comics and games and everything, it's called the Batwing.
Listen, you guys, I'm not this bad with remembering stuff. I probably if it's just me and Ethan talking regularly, I would know what it's called in the name of people. But since I'm recording, I guess I'm nervous. I don't know. But the Batwing, he literally just takes it off. It blows up. Everyone thinks Batman's dead, but turns out he goes to the exact same spot where Alfred wished him. He gets to see him one last time. He gives him the nod. It's beautiful.
and he's there with Selena.
Instantly.
And now, that's the Christopher Nolan series. That is what really gave the DC,
A name
I
for
guess, the DC
itself.
cinematic universe a name for itself. Exactly. It gave DC a chance to prove, especially Christopher Nolan, to prove that not only can Marvel, because this came out in 2000. I think Dark Knight came out in 2012.
Batman
correct?
Begins came out in 2005.
Batman
Dark
Begins
Knight came out in 2008.
2005.
Dark Knight Rises came out in 2011.
Okay.
So
I
it was around the last two movies were around the MCU time when MCU was just starting.
right. And it was trying to show that not only can the DCEU, not only can the MCU create Iron Man, we can create Batman. Like, we can make really good movies. But then we got something different.
Zack Snyder is what we got.
I think the first one was Man of Steel, correct?
Yes.
If I remember correctly. It was released in 2015, I think.
I don't remember.
13?
Yeah, look it up for me because listen, the Zack Snyderverse is what they're calling
Pretty sure it was
it.
2013.
Okay.
Yeah, June 14th, 2013.
All right, 2013. When I was a kid, look, I love Superman.
Hold on.
You okay?
Hold on. Before we get into anything, before we get into anything when it comes to the Man of Steel, this is nothing. We're not discussing. We're not discussing Superman Returns. We're not discussing the original Superman. With
No.
Ruth. We're not talking about the one with what's his name in it. You're right. I'm starting to forget crap too. The guy from the original Superman, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Forget his name.
I don't know his name.
Remember his name. All right. Well, we're not talking about any of those movies. We're talking about strictly what was considered the DCEU. So I want to throw that out there now. I don't want anyone to think, oh, they're hating on this movie when even though this movie is just as bad. No, we're not talking about that.
We're not talking.
Just fair warning.
All right, so let me get started with this though. The Zack Snyderverse, when the movie first came out in 2013, I was 10 years old. I love Superman. Like, I used to watch the animated Superman show all the time. Superman was one of my favorite characters. And it was really cool, because when I was 10, I didn't really pay attention, of course. Like, why would I? But when I was 10, watching that movie, it was really cool just to see Superman, like, fly lasers and stuff out of his eyes. But as I've grown up and rewatched the movie, this isn't Superman, man. Like, Superman isn't, like, some weird dude. And also, his dad, Jonathan Kent, was weird about it. He said, really, like, trying to, like, say, don't use your powers ever. What do you want me to do, let those kids die? Maybe.
The funny thing is, that's actually the same way. That's the same way it was in the comics. Jonathan didn't want Superman to use his powers, so
probably not to the extent of saying you should let those kids die, though. That's not.
Right. That and the fact that the Man of Steel in that particular movie, they showed nothing about Clark growing up. Absolutely nothing. They showed
nothing
about Clark. Right. They showed him getting his. Like, that's what I loved so much about the movie Smallville, about the show Smallville. We'll get into the CW in a little bit later, but that's something I loved about Smallville is it showed Clark and it showed the comic. It showed like it was comically accurate and everything. It showed Clark growing up having to conceal his powers as Superman, and it actually showed him growing up like. It was his powers a secret, and eventually, until he couldn't hold it anymore, he left home, he left his job, he left everything, trying to figure out what he truly wanted to do in life, and then found the Fortress of Solitude. Turns out that he was supposed to become something better. He was supposed to be God among men and supposed to be their protector. And if you had just watched Man of Steel, you wouldn't know any of this.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, if you've read the comic books or watched Smallville, you would know stuff about this, but they did nothing to show all of this.
Yes.
They just said Jonathan just said, let those kids die, something else. And then you
My
finally show Superman
main-
slightly.
My main problem with Man of Steel is the characterization of Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman, because he's completely different. He's in the comics, in the shows, Superman is a man of heart. He is incredibly kind. He loves Earth.
There's justice in the American one.
For most of his life, he thought he was just a regular human, a regular man. He grew up on Earth. He didn't okay, he was born on Krypton and he knew that he was a kryptonite the entire time, and he's like, well, I'm on Earth. No. Superman loves Earth because it's his home. In this,
And
it's not portrayed like that. And this, the only thing he cares about is Lois Lane, a woman, not to save Earth, but
something that really drives me crazy though is, again, back in the comics, Superman. It's even said in the comics that Superman cares more about the buildings in Metropolis than his own body.
exactly. And then you see him just throwing people, going through buildings and
people,
just completely destroying. Like, it's chaos. Like,
and it's not. It's showing Superman more of a Dark Knight character than what he's supposed to be. I mean, there's a reason that Superman is supposed to be the brighter version of Batman. That's why both of them worked.
Yes.
And we'll get into Batman versus Superman in a minute, but that's the reason that they both worked well in comics, is because they would cancel each other out. Fire and ice. Batman would be the big brooding, to get his answers, he would get tortures and stuff, and Superman,
He didn't torture.
he would be the one to. Well, you know what I mean.
He's mean. He's that mean guy, and Superman's like a lot more kinder. Like, there was even a joke on one of the animated shows where Superman told Batman, "I'll be the bad cop, you be the good cop," and I think it was like Deathstroke. And Superman was trying his hardest to be mean, and Batman was just being really nice, and Deathstroke was like, "Why are you being so nice? I'll tell you everything." Because when you think of Batman, you think of this brooding guy, that's who he is. He's tough, and Superman is super kind. But, I mean, if you cause a problem, he'll come over there and punch you into the sun, so...
Yeah, I feel like that's what people love so much about the Injustice comics, is before the game Injustice ever released, there were comics out there that,
Obviously.
it was the same.
It's based off something.
Superman... Right, Superman got... Joker nuked Metropolis, killing Lois and his unborn son, and I guess the Man of Steel had enough, and he went crazy and killed the Joker. And I mean, obviously that I loved that depiction of Superman, because it shows that even the Man of Steel has a breaking point. That that the Joker can go so low to even make the Man of Steel crack.
And Batman just.
But I feel like this. I know, and I feel like this just does it without any repercussions. Like, the Man of Steel just throws Superman out there and shows him as this guy who doesn't care about anything but Lois Lane. Exactly. Which, I mean, I guess in some cases is true, but not really.
He doesn't really care about protecting humanity. He just does it because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
He's not seen as like the Superman that you see in the comics. Like, people are like, is that a bird or plane? No, it's Superman. And he's like, he's like brooding. Yeah. He's like, I'm a god. I save you.
Right.
That's not, no. People might want to treat him that way, but he'd be the first person to say, listen, that ain't me.
Yeah.
So the portrayal of Superman and Man of Steel was not great, and that's the fault of Zack Snyder, 100%, the director of the movie. Which, at the tail end, I think at the tail end, the Zack Snyder really pulled himself together with some of the movies, mainly the 4-hour-long Justice League movie. But that was the only actually good one he made. But
in Wonder Woman,
he didn't make that one. Someone else did. Someone else made Aquaman and Wonder Woman, so it wasn't him who made it. But he introduced them in Batman vs Superman, which I guess we'll get into now.
Yeah. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice was released March 25th, 2016.
Mm-hmm. It also portrays Batman wrong as well, but we'll get into that.
we'll get into that. So this shows kind of, again, a sped up process of the birth of Batman. The rise of the Knight, I guess, is what comic it's based off of. And something I really love about, a lot of people hate this. A lot of people just straight up hate Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. And with thinking at it from a critic standpoint, yes, absolutely. Like from a movie perspective, even the ending, like the fact of them stopping because their mother has the same, that's stupid. Something I'll give this movie credit for is the fighting scenes. The CGI in this movie, when it comes to Batman to fully unleashing it on Superman, when it came to fighting scenes, I enjoyed every second of it.
DC has better fighting choreography than Marvel. It's just a fact.
Like that, and that is something that Zach did really well in this movie, is having these two straight up go at it. And like I said, from a critic standpoint and from an actual movie standpoint, it's not good. It's not. But when it comes to fighting, when it comes to the weapons, and even the new Batmobile, man,
I like the new Batmobile.
That is great. I love fighting in this. I love the fighting in this movie. Now, again, like Brian said, they betrayed Batman terribly. I don't even think I understood this movie in a way to think like, why was Batman and Superman fighting to begin with? Like, I don't even remember.
It's it was all Lex Luthor.
They even explain that, or did they just?
Yeah, they did. It's Lex Luthor wanted them to fight each other. But I want to get into Batman though really quickly, because this is the absolute worst depiction of him I've ever seen. I'll give you reasons why.
Batman?
Yes. Number one, he absolutely kills people. Like, he straight up murders them. And Zack Snyder tried to say, well, he doesn't straight on murder them. He just uses things to murder them. Like, what do you mean? Yes, he's killing them. Whether it be running into them, getting a battering, or grappling and like throwing a box at someone so it knocks them back and the back of their head hits a wall so there's like blood dripping down. He brands villains for some reason so that if they're in prison, the prisoners know that this dude really messed up, so they're going to beat him up in prison too. And also, in one of the dream sequences, he had a gun, a gun, Batman with a gun, and was shooting people. Now, people might say, okay, whatever, it's just a dream. A dream that he had. That goes exactly against what Batman's whole philosophy is. His parents died to murder and gunshot. And Batman vows his entire life so that no one else can feel that pain like he did. But Zack Snyder just says, well, it'd be really cool if Batman had like you could kill people, like a freaking sweet dude, like not sweet dude, like a cool muscle dude, and have a gun and just blast on him. No!
And see,
you don't do that.
For those of you who know about Batman's comic life, there is a comic called The Batman Who Laughs. Now, this Batman is a depiction of Batman that is taken over basically by the Joker. Now, when I'm telling you that this comic is brutal, it is brutal. Like, this is Batman. Imagine imagine the Joker and Batman becoming one. That's what this is. Mm-hmm. So it's Batman's brooding and anger and strength with Joker's ridiculous craziness and, being a psychopath. Like, the man has spikes on the spikes that cover his eyes. This man has chains with spikes as weapons. This is the way. If you're gonna make Batman a murderer, or if you're gonna make Batman any different than he should be,
That's the way
this
to do
is
it.
the only Batman
Only
that
way.
you should make. And I would absolutely
It'd be
love,
pretty cool.
I would absolutely love to see a Batman Who Laughs movie. I would love that. Mainly because I love seeing these superheroes who have a dark side to them. For example, when we had Injustice, where Superman, the Boy Scout became a straight up murderer, just punched a hole right through Joker. I mean, that was really, I love that comic. I love the Injustice games, the comic. I love it all. But to have a live action Batman Who Laughs, that would be great. And I get it that film industry is different now. They can't make something as gory or as ridiculous.
No, they can.
Bullcrap.
They have to make it R.
DC is supposed to be darker than Marvel.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of
lot
DC's
darker.
issues here. Like we said, the fall of DC. That's one of the problems is that for those of you who don't know, the original Justice League movie before the Snyder Cut was released, Zack Snyder made a couple of scenes, and I think it was his daughter had committed suicide in the middle of the movie, in the middle of directing the movie. So they got the same director.
She died from a sickness. I don't remember which was which.
I don't remember which one.
He
but after that, they got he pulled away from the movie, and they got in the same director who directed the original Avengers movie, and they had him direct it. Now, that is, I think that's the main reason that this movie flopped. Not this one in particular, but the Justice League, which takes place right after this, is because DC is supposed to be the dark. Right. It's supposed to be, there's a reason they call Batman the Dark Knight. DC's supposed to be much darker than Marvel. Marvel's supposed to be the light. DC is supposed to be the darkness. Mm-hmm. When you think of comic books, Marvel can get a little dark every now and then, especially from that movie y'all saw. But I say, if y'all don't know how dark DC really is, just look up the Batman Who Laughs, and you'll see. You'll see how bad you'll see how it gets bad. But it's so good at the same time. I can't with it. Okay. All right. Well, the Justice League. So, the Justice League was supposed to be MCU's version, or supposed to be DC's version of the Avengers. It was supposed to be like Brian said, the epic event. It was supposed to be one that draws every single DC character together and gives them their movie. Now, like I said previously, the Justice League movie was directed by the same director who directed that the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not terrible.
It's pretty bad.
It wasn't very good at all. Because, like I said, it's supposed to be the one that's dark. It's supposed to be, dark and gloomy, and I guess that's why the new Batman movie did pretty well, because it brought back the darkness of the DC.
It's a wonderful movie.
Then the Snyder Cut came out. To the DCEU is the fact that they can't seem to be any form of consistency. They're kind of like us. They can't be consistent at all. They have Wonder Woman, the original, which is a good movie. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. Then they have the Snyder Cut, which is okay, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. Then you have the original Justice League, which is terrible. Yeah, and then you have Aquaman, which again, it's okay. It's not bad, but it's not amazing either. And then you have the new Batman movie, which is still pretty good, pretty decent.
No, it's
not
great.
terrible.
What do you mean pretty good? It's wonderful. It's one of them. It's a beautiful movie.
I still haven't seen it all the way. I still haven't seen it all the way through. You still haven't
seen it all the way through?
I have it.
Wow.
I have it on my computer. I can watch it after this. It's fine. Okay. So I'm not going to give too much. I'm not going to give too much onto that. But I feel like this Batman and this perfect opportunity with DC and with Marvel being the way they are is perfect for DC. And I'll explain why in a second. You're probably thinking there's no way that DC could ever overtake Marvel. I'll get to that in a second. First, I want to talk about the path of DC, how they're leading on, what they think they're doing, what they want to do. Now, of course, we have the release of the new Shazam movie coming out soon, which the original Shazam, great movie. I loved it.
One of the only good actually good DCEU movies.
Second Shazam coming out soon. We've got Black Adam, and we've got the new Flash movie. God, it's been developed, rendered, and it's even went to the screening. But because of the controversy going around with Ezra Miller, they're not sure if they're going to release it. Ugh. In my personal opinion,
that dumb.
And quote me on this. All you want, post it on Twitter, do it, everything. The Game Freaks or the Freaks Network, we say release that crap.
Yeah.
Release that crap. We don't care what people have to say. We don't care that people are freaking out about what this guy did. I get it. Just say we cut all ties with him and release the dang movie. All this money put into that movie, and I think it's going to look pretty good. But here, before I get into how I think DC should continue, do you have anything you want to?
Well, number one thing is I want them to do a keep Shazam in there because he doesn't really have any ties to the actual DCEU. The first one was kind of its own thing, which is great.
Yeah.
They should do a completely clean slate. Like, in terms of the creatives, the actors, actresses, all that. Maybe not Gal Gadot, but just do a completely clean slate of all the characters and just restart because what you're doing right now is a mess. What they need to do is get the right people to make these movies.
See, that's is clean slate.
Yes, and
see that's what makes this perfect. Is the new Flash movie? Of course we had movies coming out. They were this Flash movie was supposed to come out now, but of course they're releasing Shazam 2, Black Adam, stuff like that. Now, what I think they should do is this Flash movie is perfect opportunity, and bear with me, New 52. Yeah. They released the comic books of New 52, which is a complete reboot of everything DC had done comics-wise. I get it. DC, the New 52 reboot is a very controversial topic when it comes to the comic books. I understand that. But when you've buried yourself deep in a hole as they has done with the DCEU, really you take what you can get. So that's why I think this Flash movie should set up perfectly with Flashpoint and could bring us new directors, new actors, new storyline, but give us something good. Could start off with the new Batman movie and then start off with the Superman movie, kind of like the MCU, how they start off their superheroes with their separate one-off movies and come together to something bigger and better. That's what I think they should do. But because what fits perfectly is when you think about it, there's so many more iconic characters in DC than there are in Marvel, because not only do you have the start off of Batman, but you also have Batman and Robin. Not only do you have the start off with Superman, but you have Superman's son, Jonathan.
Yes.
Not only that, you got people like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Aquaman that are all iconic characters. And then you have people like Green Arrow, which can spin off with The Flash, and you have Wally West, and you have all these opportunities.
They have barely tapped into all these characters with the current DCEU. So
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like this would be so perfect. This would be so perfect if they used Flashpoint to bring us different, different characters, and but start off originally with us giving, and it doesn't even have to be the same cast. It doesn't have to be Christian Bale as Batman or Henry Cavill as Superman, but just make sure that not all of this crap has to be ridiculously complicated like it is in Marvel. And I swear, if they end up doing this, they would make such good movies, man, that DC would overtake Marvel like that. like in a snap, they would overtake Marvel, because this is the perfect opportunity for them to show that DC can still make really, really good movies, that they have great superheroes. Because when people think of superheroes, they think Marvel is better than DC, because they don't know anything about DC. They don't know these great comic book attributes that all these superheroes have, because they're not as popular as the MCU.
The mass
MCU
market
is shown as this one that's the holy grail, right? MCU is shown as the holy grail of superheroes. Where when I come to think about it, in my personal opinion, dislike if you disagree, but my personal opinion, I love the character arc of the start of Batman, Superman, The Flash, Robin. We've never had a good Green Lantern movie. The last one Green Lantern movie we had was the one with Ryan Reynolds, and that had so many issues. I don't even have time to get into them all. It's just, there's so many opportunities for them to make such great movies that I feel like that's really where they should go. And this Flash movie sets it up perfect.
Absolutely. And I just think that if they can pull it off, how impressive it would be, you know, because it'd be a major turnaround for them, because what the mass market thinks of DC right now is that, oh, they make trash movies and their characters suck, you know, especially Superman. But if they can actually, you know, have a meeting and say, hey, listen, Marvel is absolutely wiping the floor with us, and people think that our characters suck because of that. So what we need to do is we need to find the right people. Let's get this thing done. You know, the new Flash movie, let's make it so that it can just reset the entire timeline. You know, New 52. Yeah. We can pull that from the comics. Go ahead and do that. And then we can actually introduce the characters people really, really want to see. You know, have an actual team, and not feel like kind of like just thrown together like it did in the Justice League movie. So if they can set that up perfectly and right, then I could be confident in the DCEU to actually be, you know, competing at least with the MCU, because right now they ain't competing at all. And now Marvel just seems like they're just doing too much stuff. And so I could easily see DC trying to, like, it's a little simpler, a little bit, but it's good, it's wonderful, and you know, it'll actually be worth watching, worth getting invested in. That's what they desperately need right now. But we'll see if they actually do that or not. I don't really have the hopes, because Warner Brothers sucks at this, apparently. Like, I don't know what's wrong with them, but it'll be okay. Well, we'll figure it. Hopefully one day they'll figure it out. Well, that was the topic for sure. It was a giant topic that we tried to cover, and hopefully we made every point we wanted.
That's just my take on the whole slew.
Yeah, but
how long was this now?
Oh, it's over an hour and a half. So
Dang.
Good. I mean, the longer the podcast, the better. But yeah, that was our topic. You know, our discussion over the MCU versus DCEU. If Marvel's slipping a bit, and what DC can do to actually overtake them. So, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please follow us on any podcast site. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts.
I know. And
we have a YouTube channel. You know, with the Freaks Network is the name for all of them. So, just go ahead and give us a follow. Go ahead and give us a sub. And if you like this on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like. Yeah. So, just always, you know, comment down below if you want us to do anything with the Star Wars stuff. And, you know, if you want to talk to us, DM us on Twitter. We'll be sure to respond back. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
See you guys.